All right, what is up, YouTube? I just got done at the gym, and in case you're wondering, yes, I did unlock the car, grab my camera, get out of the car, and then film the intro walking back to the car. If you're new here, I've been driving manual for like about 2 months now. I got this car 2 months ago, brand new, without knowing how to drive manual. And I've just been driving manual and learning on this car. I think I'm starting to get to the point now where I'm not a complete fucking noob when it comes to driving manual. Like, I definitely still can get much better, but when it comes to driving through like pretty busy LA traffic, like I can pretty much deal with it now. Yeah, I thought I'd give some tips that I've kind of picked up along the way learning to drive manual that have kind of helped me get up to speed with just being like more confident and like just being a smoother driver. Keep in mind, I've only been driving manual for like 2 months, so this is just some stuff that's kind of stuck with me that I've learned, that I've kind of internalized, that's really helped me out. So the first thing that and this is, I think, more for the people who are like just starting out, to not focus on releasing the clutches smoothly and to focus more of your energy on just timing the shifts correctly. Because when I was first starting out, I would hyperfixate on letting out the clutch smooth. People are always just like, oh, if you want smooth shifts, like let out the clutch smoothly. That's maybe like 20% of the equation. If you really want to be driving manual smoothly and well, you should be focusing 80 or even 90% of your attention on timing your shifts correctly. Think about it this way, like if you were an automatic transmission, right? And you were able to time your shifts absolutely perfectly, you could literally just dump the clutch every time you let it out, and there would be zero transmission wear, there would be zero clutch wear. Like, it would just be a perfect shift. Focus less on letting out the clutch smoothly. Like, still, you know, you still have to let it out smooth. You can't just dump it like every time. But focus much more time on learning the sounds, the vibrations, and just the general RPMs for like what a smooth shift looks and feels like, and that'll help you a lot more when you're first starting out. The next tip, I feel like beginner manual drivers have this like irrational fear of like slipping the clutch. That irrational fear for me actually made it much harder for me to learn manual, because like I said, like no human is perfect, right? You're gonna have to slip the clutch a little bit because you're not gonna be able to get the timing like absolutely correct on stuff. The clutch is a wear item. It's intended to be used, and it's not something that you need to be worried too much about damaging. At worst case, like when you're first starting to learn manual, you might take like a couple thousand miles, maybe a couple hundred miles off of the life of your clutch, and slipping the clutch is much better than just like letting out the clutch too fast and like putting a shock on your drivetrain and transmission. Point number 3 that has helped me a lot is basically like, don't be afraid of revving the engine out, especially in the lower gears. Like especially for like the 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4 shifts. Don't be afraid of revving the engine out a little bit before you shift, because it'll actually make your shifts easier. Oh, I just missed my exit. Okay. I haven't learned to heel toe yet, so I have to like take my foot off of the brakes whenever I downshift, which is problematic in a situation like that. But anyway, don't be afraid of taking your engine into the higher rev ranges if you're afraid of using gas, or if you're afraid of like damaging your clutch too much, because number 1, it's actually easier, especially in the lower gears where the revs drop really quickly and you need to time it really precisely or else the car will jerk. You'll actually find it easier to shift, and you'll have more time to worry about everything you need to worry about during a shift if you shift at the higher rev ranges, because the revs drop a lot slower. And you'll also potentially use less gas in the long run because you're actually using the engine in its power band. You can actually get up to speed faster than if you were just shifting at like a lower rev range. And then once you get into like your cruising gear, like once you get into like 4th, 5th, or 6th gear, then you can worry about keeping it at like a lower rev range, maintaining it like below like, I don't know, like 2,000 or 3,000 RPMs, right? I know it's a little scary when you first drive manual, because like you don't really rev the engine out when you drive an automatic as much. Like it'll only really do that if you're flooring it, like getting on the highway, but that's kind of just something that you need to do driving manual, especially if you're just starting out. So next point, and this I think like I started to internalize this point a little bit more as I was getting more comfortable with getting to the bite point with the clutch. Like after I started doing this, I found myself consistently starting to get like smooth shifts. And basically what I started doing was giving a little bit of gas while I'm at the bite point when I'm upshifting. So basically treating each like transition when you're like upshifting kind of like you're getting going from a stop, but a little bit faster. Jeez, I can't see anything right now. So yeah, give a little bit of gas when you're at the bite point during your upshifts, and that'll actually smooth out your shifts a lot. I read somewhere that like if you give gas at the bite point, it actually increases the size of the bite point. Like I actually have no idea how the fuck that happens, but once I started doing that, my upshifts became much smoother. It like drastically increased my confidence when it came to like driving manual. So my final point when it comes to learning to drive manual is don't be afraid of trying to learn how to downshift, even if you're not that good at upshifting yet. For me, like I thought downshifting, it was like something that I needed to graduate to learn to do. Like I needed to learn how to like upshift before I could learn to downshift. But to be honest with you, like downshifting is just a completely different skill from upshifting. Like the timings like are kind of similar, but I feel like to me it's just a completely different form of like muscle memory. It's a completely different area of my muscle memory than upshifting. And holding back on learning to downshift because I just wasn't like that comfortable with my upshifts like ended up hurting me in the long run, because I would just get myself into situations where I should be like downshifting and it's kind of sus. So let's say like you're like in this situation, right? You're getting close to a stoplight, you see like the light's red and you're like, all right, I'm gonna start braking, and then because like I'm not gonna downshift, like I don't think I'm good enough in downshifting yet, like I'm gonna let the car go down to like 1,000 RPMs in whatever gear I'm in. Let's say you're in 4th gear. I'm gonna let the car go down to 1,000 RPMs, and then I'm gonna brake, and then I'm gonna put the car into neutral, and then I'm just gonna like basically coast with my brakes on into the light, right? And I would do that a lot, and I still do that sometimes, like when I know the light has just turned red and I don't really need to like get going. But I've run into like a few situations where suddenly the light turns green and I'm just like, shit, now I need to put it in a gear and get going, right? And if I put it in a 3rd and I'm supposed to be in 2nd, then I'm just gonna be lugging the engine, which is really a really bad feeling. And if I put it into 2nd when I'm supposed to be in 3rd, then you have to like get the rev match right, like get the car to the right RPMs, and then let out the clutch smoothly. Like it's just really complicated. And there were so many situations like this that basically just like destroyed my confidence. But once I started learning to downshift, and once I made it a point to like start downshifting in all these situations, like I stopped getting myself into these situations, and like I became much more confident. I started being much more comfortable going into like LA traffic on the freeway, like bumper to bumper traffic, because just always being in gear, it instills you like so much more confidence and it feels so much safer. Also, this guy's like right behind me. I don't think he understands. So yeah, if you're like on the fence about learning to downshift because you're like, oh, like I'm not good enough at driving manual to learn to downshift yet, just try to learn, bro. Like there's no point in like holding off. It's something that you're gonna have to learn eventually. Like don't be afraid. Like the worst that'll happen is you slip your clutch a little bit. Just knowing that the option is there has given me so much more confidence driving around. And the most important part of driving manual is just having confidence. Like I feel like if you have confidence in every action that you take and you're like smooth with everything rather than like being all anxious and jerky with stuff, then your driving is just gonna be that much better. So anything that you do learning to drive manual that increases your confidence is going to be good for you in the long run. Like now we're in the right gear still, right? Now I can take this turn and not have to worry about going into neutral and like destroying my car. Like a shitty downshift is better than going into neutral and then like lugging your engine. A tip I have for downshifting is like, it's always better to over rev a downshift than it is to under rev. Because the clutch is better at bringing the revs down than it is at bringing the revs up. When in doubt, just over rev your downshift. Oh, and also like I guess this is like a 6th tip that isn't really like applicable to everyone, but if you drive an ND Miata, bro, or just like any car with like one of these fucking gear shift indicators, like don't listen to that shit like 95% of the time. Like right now it's telling me to go into 5th gear, and this place is like really hilly, and I know like if this guy in front slows down just a little bit and I'm in 5th gear, like it's gonna cause me to lug the engine, and I do not want to do that. So that's why I'm staying in 4th. I only listen to this shit like when I'm on the freeway and there's like no traffic on the freeway, or like I'm like, I know I'm gonna be going at like the same speed for a long time, then I go to the gear that it's telling me to go into. But yeah, man, if you have just recently started learning manual, I applaud you. There's not a lot of people, like I literally only know like a handful of people who know how to drive manual around me, and despite what people say, like it is really like a dying form of just like interacting with a car, I guess. We're starting to see less and less cars come out with like manual transmissions. Like the new Volkswagen GTI like just isn't available in manual anymore. But yeah, man, everyone does bad shifts. Everyone fucks up their downshift sometimes. Like everyone fucks up their upshifts. Like sometimes shifts are jerky. Sometimes people lug the engine when they start. Sometimes like people stall. Like it's no big deal if that happens, you know? Like, don't let it affect you too much. Just like reflect on what you did wrong and then immediately forget about it and move on to the next thing. Because dwelling on like a mistake that you made and like worrying about how it's like affecting your car or whatever is just gonna like make the next like 5 or 10 minutes of your manual driving worse. But yeah, if you're like a beginner manual driver like me and you're like watching all these POV videos of people driving manual, something that I've noticed personally is like a lot of my fuck ups driving manual don't really come through in the POV setup. They don't really like translate like that well into the camera, so it'll look like I'm driving a lot smoother than I actually am. So a lot of these people that you watch like POV vids, like there's a pretty good chance that there's a lot of like random jerky shit that they're doing that just isn't really coming through the camera. I'm kind of hoping that some of the shit that I did while I was driving isn't gonna come through. So yeah, but yeah, this is Mulholland Drive. I believe this is called Laurel Canyon, but Mulholland Drive like goes through like all of here. Wow. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys have any questions about driving manual, any feedback you want to give me, any stories to share from when you were learning to drive manual, please comment. I love reading all your stories. It really means so much to me. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. If you have some time, get outside, breathe some fresh air, and just like try to get away from everything for a little bit. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.